Good day everyone, I am Sofhea Plaza,
And I'm Miguel Bayog.
and today we are going to discuss the story of
Bread of Salt, written by NVM Gonzalez. But before we dive into the story itself, let's first know who is the author of this piece.
Nestor Vicente Madali Gonzalez, familiarly known as simply NVM. He was born on September 8, 1915 in Romblon and moved to Mindoro at the age of 5. He passed away on November 28, 1999 due to the kidney complications. A teacher, author, journalist, and essayist, his most notable works include the novel of The Winds of April, The Bamboo Dancers and A Season of Grace, short story collections, Children of the Ash-Covered Loam and The Bread of Salt, and other stories and essays. Distinctively wrote about the Filipino life. The affair of letters Gonzalez created is more than literature, it is the story of a Filipino in the world. It is his story.
Maybe you're wondering why this short story entitled Bread of Salt. Is it the bread spread with salt or salt in bread? But the answer is simply, came from the word pandesal, Spanish word pandesal, or in English, bread of salt.
The Bread of Salt is a coming-of-age story by Filipino national artist NVM Gonzalez. It is about a 14-year-old male narrator who falls for Ida, the niece of a Spaniard plantation owner, and who realizes that this girl is out of his league. It begins with the narrator informing us of his daily task of buying the staple breakfast food, pandesal, every 5 a.m. Pandesal in English word is bread of salt. Published on March 1993, it also provides a retrospective selection of 16 of his short stories, all originally written in English, arranged in order of the writing from early 1950s to the present day.
The story begins with a young boy at the age of 14 as our protagonist. It was his assigned duty to be up early in the morning and be on his way to the baker's to buy rolls and pandesal for the breakfast table. On his way, he thought of the bread of salt or the pandesal and wondered how it was made, what gave its flavor and shape. Like what he said in this paragraph. The bread of salt, how did it get that name? From where did its flavor come? Through what secret action of flour and yeast? At the risk of being jostled from the counter by early buyers, I will push my way into the shop so that I may watch the men who strip to the waist work their long flat wooden spades in and out of the glowing mow. Why did the bread come not brown and the size of my little fist? Why did it have bare of lips convulsed into a painful frown?
He looked around the landscape at daybreak and once again remembered how much he adored Ida, the niece of the old Spaniard whom he thought he was destined to serve, just like his late grandfather. At times he thought it was his duty to stay in the house in the service of the young maiden. He even dreamed that she likewise keeps an intense emotion for him, which she will only dare manifest in the right time. He was a diligent student and a violinist. It didn't take long before he was transferred from second to first violin, and before long, he was invited to join the BSED band and perform in one engagement after another.
He was happy to earn money through his own skill, although it was with utter bitterness that he had to endure rehearsal, despite the outward disapproval of his aunt. She thought musicians are no longer better than the dogs, scurrying to get their mouths on food scraps in trash bins. But he didn't mind. He thinks that the money he'll earn from playing the violin will allow him to a capacity to buy a brooch and a beautiful stationery for his ardent love, Ida.
Then he was invited together with Sa's band to the assault of Don Esteban's daughter who were arriving from Manila. He was honored to be in sophisticated gathering and get a magnified look at Ida's stunning beauty. He was beside himself with immeasurable joy and pride, but will later on displaced by an equally immeasurable embarrassment at the buffet table after Ida caught him sneaking some sweets in the pocket under his shirt. She nonetheless offered him a big package of food after the party, but due to his intense shame, he lost the composure to react, along with the entire ardor he used to shower the maiden with. After the party, they led the guests home with their music. Then with Paes, he went to the bakery to buy pandesal with his own money, but the bread wasn't ready to get yet, so they waited.
And that's how the story ends. So let's break down the story. The setting happened in 1930s in the Philippines. Bake shop and Don Esteban house, the Spaniard, the school. The characters are the boy, the main protagonist, a 14-year-old boy. His name was not mentioned. Then Ida, the object of protagonist's affection. The grandfather and grandmother of the protagonist. Zaes, the guy who invited the boy to join his band, and Sofhea and Alicia, who is Ida's cousin, and Don Esteban.
For the plot of this story, exposition. When the protagonist started to learn and master playing violin. Rising action. When his aunt doesn't support him to perform in public or parties because the musicians are the last to eat during parties. Man versus society. Climax, when Ida caught him packing some of the food in party. Falling action, when the 14-year-old threw away the food that he packed. Resolution, the boy realized that like a pandesal, he is still not yet ready to face reality. Point of view is the first person.
The lesson of the story is reality should be in constant check, whether a person is just fantasizing improbable future events or not. And people shouldn't be afraid to be judged because that's just how it is. Minding what would be the best for you. Always. Being judged is normal and yes, it hurts. Society slaps people with judgment, but that's okay as long as you don't change who you are for the society. And the story is very Filipino since it tackles about how class division happened in Philippines and also our culture, which is the pandesal, our course meal in every breakfast, and also someone in touch of colonial mentality. Like in the end, it shows how a Filipino pride in the ways show their class, like what happened to the protagonist and Ida.